What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's video. In light of acquiring a new Nintendo 3DS, I'm doing a top 10 JRPGs on the 3DS list. This right here is an incredibly underrated JRPG console filled with amazing games for fans to dive into. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite JRPGs are on the 3DS and if you've played any of these. I'd love to read your thoughts on them, but before we get into the games, I'd like to take a second to talk about today's sponsor. Suikoden I&II Remaster is an incredible opportunity for fans of the genre to experience these classic games in a new light. With the remaster bringing updated visuals, quality of life improvements, and a chance for new audiences to experience these games, there has never been a better time to dive into the Suikoden series. While the original games were visually charming, the remasters bring them to life with updated HD pixel art and new lighting effects. All background illustrations have been upgraded to HD and it looks stunning. Updated effects breathe new life into the pixel art animation and new environmental sound effects to immerse you in the fantasy world. Battle sound effects are also now in HD and add a new level of realism to the games. There's a long list of quality of life changes as well, like an autosave feature, battle fast forwards, and a conversation log. This is one of the most highly anticipated remasters out there, and with good reason. Be sure to get your hands on this one. It's available on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles, as well as PC. There's a link in the description below to purchase the game, so there's an easy way for you to pick this one up if you haven't had a chance to yet. Now, with all that out of the way, let's jump into the top 10 list of best 3DS JRPGs. Dragon Ball Fusions is a really cool idea. When people talk about Dragon Ball games, it's always the same few names: Budokai, Xenoverse, Fighters, and yeah, these are great, but Dragon Ball Fusions for the Nintendo 3DS, that's something really special. Instead of another fighting game, Fusions takes the series over the top battles and transforms them into a JRPG, and honestly, it works incredibly well. The turn-based combat, the massive roster, and the ridiculously fun fusion system makes this one of the most unique and addicting Dragon Ball experiences ever made. The battle system is where this game really hooks you in. It's turn-based, but with a twist. Characters act based on their position on the initiative gauge, meaning speed actually matters here. You can delay enemy turns, set up devastating combos, and completely control the flow of battle if you're skilled enough to do so. I remember spending hours just messing around with different team setups, figuring out how to break the game in the best way possible, and trust me, Fusions has a million different ways to break the game. Positioning is also huge here. You're not just trading blows, you can knock enemies into each other, slam them into allies for bonus damage, and even set off chaotic chain reactions. It's fast, it's tactical, and it somehow captures the raw, high-energy feel of the anime better than most of the actual fighting games do. But let's be real, the fusion system is the real star of the show here. You can fuse almost any two characters together and the results are absolutely insane. This game right here, it lets you go wild. Ever wanted to see what a Krillin Piccolo hybrid would look like? This game absolutely delivers on that concept. And it's not just for show. Each fusion has unique abilities and stats, making customization completely addicting. I got so lost in experimenting with different fusions that I barely progressed the story for hours on end. This game doesn't get talked about nearly enough when people discuss the best games on the 3DS, and that's a shame. Dragon Ball Fusions is a hidden gem on this console, and if you're a Dragon Ball fan who somehow missed out on it, you need to fix that now. Radiant Historia stands out as a great game that delivers an unforgettable adventure. This game takes everything I love about classic JRPGs: an incredible story, deep combat, meaningful player choices, and somehow makes it even better. Originally released in 2010 for the DS and later remastered for the 3DS, this is one of those rare games that sticks with you long after the credits roll. If you're a JRPG fan and you haven't played this yet, you're definitely missing out. The combat is brilliant. While most turn-based RPGs stick to the usual attack, defend, repeat formula, Radiant Historia throws you in a 3x3 grid system that completely changes everything. You can reposition enemies, group them together for massive combo attacks, and manipulate turn order to really master this combat system. It's almost like a mix between traditional turn-based combat and a tactical RPG, and I absolutely love it. It makes every battle feel super rewarding instead of just spamming the strongest attacks until you win. But what sets Radiant Historia apart has to be its time travel mechanic. And let me tell you, it's one of the best implementations of time travel that I've ever seen in a video game. Instead of being some gimmick, it's woven into the story in a way that makes every decision feel meaningful. Make a mistake, see a tragic event unfold, no problem. Just jump back in time and try again. But here's the thing, it's not just about undoing bad choices. The game actively encourages you to explore different outcomes, rewarding you with new abilities, alternate story paths, and even hidden secrets. Unlike so many RPGs where side quests feel like pointless filler, Radiant Historia makes them matter. The remaster on the 3DS takes everything great about the original and makes it even better. The hand-drawn environments might be simple, but they ooze charm and fit perfectly with the game's fantasy setting. Still blows my mind how many people slept on this game. Radiant Historia is one of the best JRPGs on the 3DS. The Etrian Odyssey series has always stood apart from traditional JRPGs because of its unique dungeon crawling mechanics. Etrian Odyssey 5 Beyond the Myth released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2017, and it is one of the finest entries in the series, refining its core mechanics while delivering a challenging and rewarding experience. With its intricate dungeon design, robust class system, and super cool map drawing feature, Etrian Odyssey 5 is a must-play game. At its core, this game is a first-person dungeon crawler where you'll explore a vast, multi-layered dungeon filled with monsters, environmental puzzles, and hidden treasures, among other things. Unlike many modern RPGs that guide you with waypoints and markers, Etrian Odyssey 5 encourages exploration and careful navigation. It can be frustrating at times for sure, but if you embrace this gameplay style, you will really have a ton of fun with this one. One of the series' signature features is the ability to draw your own map using the 3DS touchscreen. As you explore each floor, you'll manually chart pathways, mark enemy locations, and note down points of interest. This feature adds a personal touch to the exploration, and I really enjoyed that. For those who love JRPGs that push them to think and adapt, Etrian Odyssey 5 offers the perfect level of challenge. It demands patience and careful resource management, but it never feels completely unfair. Every fight I won and every floor I completed brought me a deep sense of accomplishment, and this is definitely one of the better JRPGs that you can get on the Nintendo 3DS. The 3DS had some amazing Fire Emblem titles, but if I had to pick just one, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia would definitely be it. Released in 2017, it's a full remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, and while it keeps the series' signature tactical combat, Echoes isn't afraid to break tradition, introducing dungeon crawling, flexible class progression, and a heavy focus on character-driven storytelling. It's a bold departure from the modern formula, and honestly, that's exactly why I love it. The core combat still delivers the strategic depth Fire Emblem is known for, but the dungeon crawling, that's where Echoes truly stands out to me. Instead of just hopping from battle to battle, you can actually explore 3D dungeons in real time, uncovering hidden treasures, fighting enemies in smaller skirmishes, and even taking on side quests. It's such a cool shakeup for the series, blending Fire Emblem's tactical battles with a more classic RPG dungeon crawling look and feel. Some fans weren't into it at the time, but I thought it was brilliant. It makes Echoes feel more immersive and gives you more ways to engage with the world outside of just the traditional, tactical combat that you find in every Fire Emblem game. And speaking of immersion, this game's presentation is top tier. Fully voiced dialogue, beautifully reimagined story, and a cast of characters that actually feel fleshed out and memorable. It's Fire Emblem storytelling at its best. Every part of this remake feels lovingly crafted, and it honestly makes me wish more Fire Emblem games would take risks like this. If you're a longtime Fire Emblem fan who somehow skipped Echoes, or if you're new to the series and looking for something that blends that classic strategy with some fresh, new ideas, this is a must-play. I've been itching to go back to it and replay it myself. The Pokemon series has seen numerous remakes over the years, but Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are some of my favorites. Whether you grew up with these games or you're exploring Hoenn for the first time, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire deliver one of the most polished, exciting, and downright fun adventures in all of Pokemon. First off, this region has never looked better. The 3DS upgrade makes it feel alive with their new, vibrant visuals. The world feels fresh, yet still captures the sense of wonder that made the original so special. And let's talk about the gameplay, because Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire don't just give this a graphical facelift, it refines and enhances the experience in ways that make it hard to go back to the originals. Mega evolutions introduced in Pokemon X and Y add an entirely new layer of strategy, making battles feel even more dynamic. The Dex Nav is an incredible feature. Being able to track rare Pokemon with hidden abilities and special moves adds a level of depth to catching Pokemon that I wish more games would adopt. But my favorite addition, honestly, the return of secret bases. You're no longer just decorating a little hideout. Now you can turn your secret base into a fully fledged mini gym. It's the kind of extra feature that made these games feel different in a way that modern Pokemon games lack. Honestly, if you're frustrated with the direction of recent Pokemon titles, do yourself a favor and pick up Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. These games are the perfect blend of nostalgia and innovation, and they're still among the best Pokemon games out there. Originally released on the PlayStation 2 in 2005, Tales of the Abyss found a new home on the Nintendo 3DS in 2011. And honestly, it's the perfect way to experience this classic. Whether you're a longtime fan of the Tales series or just diving in for the first time, this game delivers an unforgettable story, an incredible cast, and one of the most satisfying battle systems in the entire franchise. The action-based combat in Abyss is just so good. The Tales series has always excelled in this area, but Abyss took things to another level with the FOF system. Certain elemental attacks will leave behind energy fields on the battlefield, and if another character casts the right spell in that zone, then you get stronger abilities, new effects, and an extra layer of strategy that makes combat insanely addictive. This isn't just a minor tweak either, it's one of those refinements that truly sets Abyss apart, much like what Tales of Grace's F did when I played it earlier this year. The 3DS port actually improves on the original in some really meaningful ways. Faster load times make everything smoother. The dual screen functionality means you get a handy minimap at all times, something the original desperately needed. It may not have gotten a full visual overhaul, but the portability alone makes it a fantastic way to play it. I could go on and on about how much I love Tales of the Abyss, but honestly, if you haven't played it yet, you need to fix that. This game is easily one of the best JRPGs on the 3DS, and in my opinion, it's one of the best Tales games, full stop. Xenoblade Chronicles, in my opinion, is one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. Originally released on the Wii in 2010, this game found new life on the new Nintendo 3DS in 2015. The key word here is new. The game is one of the few that were only playable on the upgraded version of the handheld released mid-generation, and while it came with quite a few downsides in terms of technical hiccups, the fact that a game of this size and scale was running on a small Nintendo 3DS was shocking, to say the least. This is one of the first times prior to getting the Switch that I felt like I was truly playing a large-scale console-quality game on the go. While Xenoblade Chronicles 3D doesn't match the graphical quality of the Switch version, obviously, it's still worth mentioning as one of the best JRPGs on what I feel is the last handheld console of its kind. Having a game of this scale on a handheld device is an impressive feat, like I said before, and the ability to take the game on the go with a console that truly is handheld and can fit right in your pocket is really incredible. Xenoblade Chronicles 3D is an ambitious and unforgettable JRPG that delivers an incredible story, a massive world, and a really deep and sometimes complex battle system. While the 3DS version has its graphical downgrades, it still captures the heart and soul of what makes Xenoblade Chronicles such a masterpiece. Bravely Default is one of the best turn-based JRPGs ever made. Few games manage to capture that classic Final Fantasy feel while also introducing fresh and game-changing mechanics the way Bravely Default does. This game isn't just a throwback, it's a revitalization of everything that made old-school JRPGs so special, while adding smart, modern twists that keep it from feeling outdated. At its core, the Brave and Default system is an absolute game-changer for turn-based combat. Brave lets you take multiple actions in one turn at the cost of future turns, and Default lets you bank turns and go on the defensive, setting up huge counterattacks for later. This isn't just a gimmick, it completely changes how you approach battles. Do you go all in with Brave and try to wipe enemies out immediately, or do you play cautiously and unleash a devastating combo at the perfect moment? Even random encounters feel exciting because of this. And when it comes to boss fights, the level of strategy involved is on another level. And then there's the whole job system, one of the most satisfying class systems in all of JRPGs. Over 20 different jobs to mix and match, each with their own abilities and synergies. The sheer amount of customization and experimentation makes building your party an obsession. I spent so much time just fine tuning my builds, unlocking crazy abilities, and finding the most broken combination possible. It never got old to me. But one of my favorite things Bravely Default did on the 3DS was how it used Street Pass. The whole village rebuilding mechanic was honestly brilliant. Every time you tag someone with Street Pass, it helped rebuild your town, unlocking new shops, new gear, and new items. It actually gave me a reason to carry my 3DS around everywhere. More games needed to do this stuff, and Street Pass is one of the things I miss most about the 3DS. Bravely Default isn't just one of the best JRPGs on the 3DS, though. It's one of my favorite games in the genre altogether. The combat is deep, the job system is addicting, and the presentation is really, really well done. If you're a fan of turn-based games, you owe it to yourself to play Bravely Default. Shin Megami Tensei 4 isn't just one of the best games on this console, it's one of the best JRPGs that I've ever played. This was my first Shin Megami Tensei game, actually, and I came into it as a Persona fan first, thinking I knew what to expect, but I was horribly wrong. Shin Megami Tensei 4 completely changed how I looked at RPGs, pulling me into this unforgiving world and making me crave darker and more challenging experiences going forward. This game kicked my teeth in at times, made me rethink my strategies constantly, and I loved every second of it. The story is easily one of the darkest and most complex in the series. You start as an apprentice samurai, but before long, you're thrown into a post-apocalyptic war for the fate of the world. There's no simple good versus evil here either. It's just brutal moral choices, each pulling you toward different factions with their own warped ideologies. Every decision matters, and SMT4 doesn't hold your hand. It forces you to make tough calls and honestly just live with them. And then there's the combat, one of the most rewarding and punishing turn-based systems out there. This game demands actual strategy, not just mindless grinding. Exploiting weaknesses, negotiating with demons, and fusing powerful allies is what keeps you alive. If you mess up, you die. And I mean, you die a lot, but every victory feels well earned, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Demon collecting and fusions are done perfectly here. Every new fusion feels like unlocking a secret weapon, and the thrill of negotiating with demons, choosing the right dialogue options, bribing them, manipulating them, or just hoping they don't kill you adds an extra layer of tension to every encounter. And let's talk about how perfect this game is for the 3DS itself. I sank an absurd amount of time into this game thanks to its deep mechanics and handheld friendly design. Sure, the visuals take a hit compared to console titles, but even with the limitations, this game still manages to be one of the best looking and most atmospheric games on the console. If you're a JRPG fan, especially if you love challenging and thought-provoking games, this is a must-play game. I could have picked any of the other great Dragon Quest titles on the 3DS, but this one is special. Originally released on the PlayStation 2, Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King made the leap to a handheld with zero compromises, and in many ways, this version is the definitive way to play it. There's something about Dragon Quest that just feels right on a handheld to me. I've played so many of these games on portable systems now that I honestly prefer experiencing them this way. And Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS only reinforced that for me. Combat sticks to that classic turn-based formula that Dragon Quest is known for. No gimmicks, no fluff, just pure JRPG goodness. You unlock new abilities, level up your magic, and strategize to exploit enemy weaknesses. It's simple, but insanely satisfying. The monster recruitment system is back too, letting you build a party of unique creatures and experiment with different setups. It's one of the features that adds a ton of replayability, and I had a blast with it. But where Dragon Quest VIII really shines is its story and characters. This is one of the most memorable adventures in the series, with an incredible world, fantastic writing, and an unforgettable cast. The 3DS version only improves on it, adding things like new features, additional mini-games, side quests, and quality of life enhancements that make an already amazing game even better. If you've never played a Dragon Quest game before, this is the one to start with, in my opinion. Trust me, once you finish it, you'll want to go back and play the rest of them. Anyway, that's it for me in this one. Those are my top 10 JRPGs on the Nintendo 3DS. This truly is an amazing console with such a good library of games. I do feel that this was the last truly handheld console that we will ever get. And even today, it's nice to be able to leave the house with a system like this, one that I can just throw in my pocket. The Steam Deck is enormous, and while the Switch was already quite large, the Switch 2 will be even bigger. There's still a place in my heart for something like the Nintendo 3DS, and after today's list, I hope you find some games you may have missed out on. And until next time, I'm out.